Have you ever had a moment or maybe even a whole season of your life where you've just kind of felt off your game? Maybe you're stuck in your career or you're going through a major transition in your life or work, or could even be your mindset. Today, I want to walk you through a practical 3-step coaching framework that I have used for years. I use it in both my personal life. I also use it with my coaching clients. And I use this to help us reset, refocus, and then move forward when things are just feeling a little off, or any time you need it. If we haven't met before, I'm Katie. I'm a consultant, I'm a coach and an educator, and I'm also a nurse by background. And I absolutely love being a coach and walking with people through growth and transformation. So this framework that I'm going to share today has 3 parts: awareness, alignment, and action. Now, I'll just tell you, I've done over a decade of coaching. I've gone through leadership coaching and life coaching, and I've gone through many intensive programs, you name it. I have read tons of books, taken the courses, I've downloaded all kinds of models and frameworks. And honestly, there is a lot of really great stuff out there. But the one thing that I just keep coming back to is that if it's not simple, I won't use it daily. I won't actually apply it. And so that's what I actually want for myself. And that's really what I want for you, is something that you can really apply and use. So the first step is awareness. This step is really all about slowing down and really getting honest with yourself. What is going on right now? How are you feeling mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? What is working in your life? What is not working? Many of us are just pushing through life on autopilot. We might sense something's going on. We might be able to feel it kind of underneath the surface, but we really don't take time to name it and to just look at it. So this is the part where we just pause and we flip the light on. So in the awareness step, I will usually ask myself some questions. So where am I at right now emotionally? Where's my head at? Where's my heart at? What's been frustrating me or draining me? Another big one is, what have I been avoiding? What's causing me anxiety? What is feeling heavy? Like I'm kind of walking through quicksand. Another one that's really important to notice and to recognize is what's been filling me up and what's really been energizing me. So usually what I'll do is I will grab a notebook. I'm still a kind of a pen and paper processor. I'm trying to get more digital. So I'll, open up my notes app and I'll do just a quick, what I like to call brain dump or a thought download, and just kind of get it all out of my head. No filter, no judgment, just, brutal and total honesty. And, really what you'll find is that sometimes just getting it out, putting, some language around what you're experiencing will give you really that first bit of clarity that you need. So I like to think about this process like you're tidying up a messy room in your home. So awareness is like walking into the room and finally, flipping on the light. You're not maybe quite ready to get to work cleaning anything quite yet, but you're finally at least just seeing what's there. You're no longer like walking past it, ignoring it, pretending like it doesn't exist with the door shut. You're actually saying like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. I got the light on. Now I know. The next step that we go through is alignment. So once you've done your brain dump and everything is out of your head and onto paper, you might be wondering, okay, now what? So this is where you're probably going to see, if you're anything like me, a mixture of things. So you're going to have tasks, emotions, worries, things again you've been avoiding, random to-dos, maybe even some patterns that pop up that you didn't even realize were there. And no, you do not need to go full type A and start organizing your list into categories or color coding anything. Though what I will tell you is that if you're into that, I've got some tools that I use that I will share in a future video if you're interested in things like that. So here's the really important tip, is that as you start to get everything out of your head, do not get overwhelmed. There might be a lot there. You do not need to fix it all today. That's not the goal. This is really where we start to really make sense of it. So this is where we start to begin that process of getting into alignment. So I like to think of it this way. Awareness helps you to see everything and just kind of get it out of your head. Alignment then helps you filter it so that you're not wasting your time and energy on stuff that really just doesn't deserve your time or energy. You would be really surprised how much that you think about and constantly ruminate on that really, doesn't deserve your time or energy, or that you could be using on something else. So let's go back to that messy room example. So awareness is like flipping on the light and actually seeing the mess. Now, alignment is actually standing in that room and starting to decide what actually belongs, what needs to stay, what needs to go, what's not even yours and shouldn't be there in the first place. It's, again, you're not going to organize every single drawer at this point, but it's really about making sense of the mess so that you're not, again, wasting your energy on things that don't matter. So I recommend in this step to really start asking yourself some questions. So there's some standard ones that I usually ask myself. So the most important one that I always come back to is, what do I say is important to me? And am I living like it? Am I living in alignment with what I say is actually important to me? Am I living in alignment with my priorities? So another important question to ask yourself is, when you start to see these things on your list, is what is actually true about anything that might be there? What is true about the situation, about my situation, versus what is just unnecessary fear, assumption, or pressure that I've put on myself? So another one is, am I reacting to other people's expectations, or am I really truly living in alignment with my own values? So for now, just take a moment and notice, what are the things on this list that actually do need your time and energy right now versus what's just noise, stress, or really just unnecessary weight or pressure. So here's a few examples that you can think about, things that, have happened in my own life. You might say that your family is the most important thing to you, that is what matters most to you. But when you start to look at it, your screen time is actually way higher than your connection time. And, that might be okay if you work on your phone, but it's, again, just something to take notice of. So you could find that you've been pushing toward a goal, put a lot of time and energy into a goal, only then to realize that goal really isn't your goal. It's really someone else's expectations. Another thing I've run into is that, you could find that something that's going on in your head constantly is that you keep telling yourself that you're constantly behind and you need to catch up. But then when you actually stop and look and you zoom out, you realize that you're in a season of transition, and transition just takes time. So the important thing to really notice here in this stage is that this step is really not about perfection. It is all about helping you correct course. It's really about checking in with yourself and saying, hey, am I living my life the way I want to live? Am I spending my energy on the right things, on the things that I say are important to me? So, and here's a little tip. If you start to get emotional during this process, or overwhelmed, or just kind of foggy, I recommend just slow down, maybe even take a few breaks, and just keep coming back to it, because this alignment step is really where you start to get some of your footing back. When you filter what's truly in alignment for you from what's just noise and not important, the next step will become a lot more clear and easier. So step 3 is all about action. All right. So you've gotten honest with yourself in the awareness step. You've taken time to really filter out what matters most to you in the alignment step. Now it's time to start moving. But what I would recommend is, don't get into hustle mode. If you're anything like me, I do that a lot. Do not try to fix everything at once, just one step. So this is all about taking one small, grounded, clear action. What is one thing that you could do today that would move you forward, even 5% forward? What is the next step that really feels doable and peaceful, not forced? Another question to ask yourself is, what's something that you've been avoiding that you really need to handle? So this might be something like sending a text, or maybe making a phone call that you've been putting off, or, writing down your goals and your priorities for the next week. It could be something like saying no to something, or taking something off of your plate entirely because you've realized it's not in alignment with, where you're at right now. So let's go back to that messy room example. So action is the part where you start to put things in order. You take out the trash. You're going to clear off that shelf. You finally deal with that corner you've got this pile. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least you're in motion. And that's really what starts to build energy and momentum. So here's the important thing, is that you do not need a whole plan right now. You just need to make a move, one move. So start from a place of clarity and alignment. Take one small action today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day, and you will really start to build some really positive momentum. So let's recap. Number 1, we've got awareness. Flip on the light and get honest about what's going on. Number 2 is alignment. Decide what belongs and filter what matters. Filter what doesn't matter too. Number 3 is action. Take one grounded step and start clearing your space. So you can use this practice really anytime, daily, weekly, or anytime you feel off. I personally come back to this every single day, usually multiple times a day. And over time, it starts to just become second nature, and you start to build a quiet, steady rhythm or practice that you can really return to anytime that things feel a little bit messy or unclear. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, this is great, but I'm still not really sure exactly what's going on with me, I've got another video where we break down stress, burnout, and languishing. Check that out. It might be a great place to start.